Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You've sent us a stack of some truly fascinating source material. I mean, it's really a blueprint for a new kind of strategic alliance.
It is. It's a compelling read.
And at the very core of this entire concept is what seems to be a radical attempt to solve one of the biggest systemic failures in international security.
The problem of speed.
Exactly, the problem of speed. Everything in this document seems to be engineered around that one single concept.
And it has to be. We're looking at the foundational architecture for what the sources themselves call a Muslim NATO. But, as you said, the structure itself is almost secondary to the system that governs it.
Which they call the Rapid Decision Mechanism.
The RDM, yes. And that's really what we need to dig into.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The RDM isn't just like an add-on to the alliance. It feels like it's the specific political and military engineering designed to achieve instantaneous collective security.
That's a perfect way to put it. If the alliance is a body, the RDM is its central nervous system. It's built from the ground up to remove all those historical layers of delay.
Bureaucracy, political arguments, all of it.
All of it. That's precisely the mandate. The blueprint defines the system as the absolute solution to political paralysis and bureaucratic gridlock. I mean, the stakes, as they're outlined in these documents they're nothing short of existential.
Yeah, the language is very stark. It calls the RDM the heartbeat of the alliance.
Yeah.
And it's designed specifically, it says, to prevent Gaza repeats, to end Kashmir silence, and to make sure there are no more, indecisive or late reactions to invasions or attacks on holy sites.
It frames slowness not just as an operational failure, but as a moral failure.
So I think the guiding question for our deep dive today has to be, how do you functionally design an alliance, one that could involve dozens of sovereign nations, that is structurally engineered to move from threat detection to an operational response in a matter of minutes?
Minutes, not weeks or years.
Because all historical precedent suggests that that's an impossible goal.
Well, it requires you to flip the entire paradigm of security cooperation. You have to shift from a model based on finding political consensus before you act.
Which takes forever.
Right. And you move to a model based on pre-authorized operational readiness that kicks in before you even ask for consensus. And I think to really grasp how revolutionary the RDM is, we first have to understand just how lethal, modern slowness has actually become.
Let's set that stage then. Why speed is everything.
Let's start with why speed isn't just, a bonus feature in modern conflict. It's the decisive factor. It determines victory or collapse.
Yeah.
We're in an era where the timeline for making a decision has been compressed almost to zero.
Right, and this is where it gets really important for you, the listener. If you're prepping for any kind of modern security meeting, the sources we have really emphasize the speed of modern threat vectors. Yeah. It's not about infantry movements taking weeks to cross a border anymore.
Not at all. It's about microseconds and minutes.
So break that down. What are we talking about?
I mean, think about the velocity of modern warfare. A missile launch detected from a hostile state could have a flight time measured in single-digit minutes before impact.
So less time that it takes to get the right people on a conference call.
Infinitely less time. Cyber attacks strike instantly. They can exploit vulnerabilities before a defense team can even convene. Drones can operate autonomously, executing missions in seconds.
Yeah, and it's not just the kinetic side, is it?
No, that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Even the narrative war, the PR battle, that can be won or lost in the first few hours. If you wait for a formal parliamentary vote to decide on your response, the crisis is already over, and you've already lost.
The blueprint draws a very hard line on this. It says, and I'm quoting here, the difference between a 5-minute response and a 5-day response is the difference between surviving an attack and suffering national collapse.
That narrow window, that tiny, tiny gap is where the fate of a nation is decided in the 21st century.
A 4,320-minute gap.
Exactly. And that small window demands immediate centralized action. And, the source material, it doesn't pull any punches. It uses some painful, specific historical examples to show the consequences of slow, fragmented responses.
And these are the lessons that ultimately led to the drafting of the RDM.
They are the brutal context, yes. We're reminded of the speed with which state structures have failed in the past. Think about Iraq falling in hours.
Right.
Or Libya collapsing in days, Afghanistan's entire regional dynamic shifting in just a few weeks. In every single one of those cases, the common denominator was a lack of rapid, unified external support from allies.
An operational vacuum?
Precisely. The document uses these examples to show that when those vacuums appear, When regional powers fragment or global allies delay, the adversary on the ground immediately capitalizes.
And then there are the chronic examples.
Right. The continuous pressure on places like Gaza or the long-term geopolitical tension over Kashmir are cited as, chronic examples of suffering that is sustained by the lack of an immediate, unified counterforce.
So if that's the problem, the RDM's target isn't just to be, say, a little bit faster than existing groups.
No, it's aiming for a quantum leap.
Okay, so let's look at the baseline comparison. Your sources cite some numbers here that really highlight the colossal ambition of this system.
We can start with the most established, sophisticated alliances out there. NATO, the gold standard for decades, right? It took NATO 36 hours to authorize the use of Article 5 after the 9/11 attacks.
Well, 36 hours.
For a world-altering security event that was completely undeniable.
And 36 hours, in diplomatic terms, that's lightning fast.
Yeah.
But in modern missile warfare, it's an absolute eternity.
It's game over. And when you compare that to existing regional organizations in the Muslim world, the timeline just expands disastrously.
Such as?
Well, the Arab League, we're told, often takes months just to agree on the wording of a collective statement, let alone a military intervention. Months. And the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The source says it sometimes takes years to finalize a policy directive or any kind of substantive diplomatic response.
So the context is years, months, maybe 36 hours at best, and the RDM is targeting a response in minutes.
Under 360 seconds.
It's not an incremental improvement. It's a different category of action altogether.
It requires a fundamental political and technological shift, and that has to be baked right into the alliance's DNA from day one. It demands a complete redesign of how political authority and military command interact.
Which is why the blueprint began with, well, an autopsy of why the current systems fail so profoundly.
Exactly.
That brings us smoothly into part 2, diagnosing the failure of these existing organizations. The source material spent a lot of time analyzing why groups like the OIC and the Arab League just cannot deliver the speed or the effectiveness needed.
And this analysis is what sets the stage for the RDM as the necessary replacement. The breakdown of the OIC is particularly sharp.
What's the core issue there?
Its original mandate. It's fundamentally a diplomatic and cultural organization, not an operational one. It was built for consensus and dialogue.
Right, so it's structured to pass resolutions, manage cultural cooperation, things like that. But the blueprint argues it just lacks the essential binding authority you need for modern defense.
It can't mobilize armies. It can't unilaterally authorize the use of force. It can't activate defense systems, and this is the crucial part. It cannot issue a legally binding military order to a member state's armed forces.
It's designed for consensus.
Which is the absolute antithesis of speed.
Okay, so then you look at the Arab League, where the structure is at least more aligned toward political action, but the mechanism seems to guarantee paralysis.
It does. The sources highlight this catastrophic problem of division and fragmentation, and they put a special emphasis on the power of the veto.
It's the classic alliance trap, isn't it? If every single member has the theoretical power to stop the whole machine.
One or two politically dissenting voices can halt all collective action.
So the system is effectively guaranteed to fail, right when consensus is most desperately needed.
Because pressure fractures consensus. Every time.
And that fragility, it's made worse by the tangle of conflicting regional alliances that already exist.
It is. The source material explicitly lists these fault lines. You've got the inter-GCC rivalries, the tensions between the Gulf states and, say, Turkey or Qatar, and of course the enduring geopolitical split between various Arab states and Iran.
So even if the majority of members agreed on an action against some external threat, these pre-existing tensions would guarantee that military forces or basing access or logistical support would be withheld by dissenting members.
And that cripples the operation before it even begins.
So what's the core deficiency, if you boil it all down?
The ultimate synthesis of all these historical failures is stated very clearly in the RDM document. There is no central command.
And no central command fundamentally means?
There can be no central decision. The fragmentation guarantees indecision and delay. This institutional failure is the void the RDM is engineered to fill.
So the design philosophy had to be radical, had to just discard that slow, multilateral consensus model.
And replace it with a system built on unity, centralization, and most importantly, the automatic linking of intelligence and military action.
Which brings us to the architecture itself, the nuts and bolts.
Now we can delve into the technical blueprint in part 3, the rapid decision mechanism itself. And this structure, it's not just about having faster meetings, it's about pre-engineering the political will.
It's a clear, three-tiered structure, and it seems to be designed purely for maximum velocity.
That's right.
So let's start with the most audacious level, level 1, automatic response. This is the one that kicks in from 0 to 5 minutes. The source actually calls this the Muslim Article 5 auto trigger.
And the implication of that name is staggering.
No meeting, no vote, no delay required.
The political engineering that you would need to make this work is immense. The core principle is removing human authorization from the initial defense phase. It moves from a verified threat detection straight to action, based purely on predefined, high-stakes existential triggers.
And the source material is very, very clear that these triggers have to be unambiguous. There's no room for interpretation.
None. We are looking at 5 specific events. 1, an attack on any member state. 2, an attack on a holy site. 3, a nuclear threat. 4, a foreign invasion. Or 5, a missile strike.
So any of those 5, and the mechanism instantly activates.
Instantly.
Okay, let me pause here and introduce some critical analysis, because this is where the operational risk is just astronomical. You are describing military forces automatically engaging based purely on an intelligence trigger.
That's correct.
No human political vote, no executive sign-off required. In a multi-state alliance, how does the blueprint address the massive political and military risk of a false positive? An automated trigger could accidentally start a massive regional war if the detection was flawed.
That is the single greatest tension point in the entire design, and the blueprint does address it. It does so by building incredibly intense verification protocols into the Intelligence Fusion Center, the IFC.
So it's not just a single sensor going off.
Yep. Not at all. The system is designed to trigger only on highly kinetic, objectively verifiable events, like a confirmed missile trajectory from multiple sources, or an identified armored column crossing a border. Things that require an immediate defensive reaction just to survive.
And the risk is also mitigated by the type of response.
Exactly. The risk is managed by limiting the initial automatic response to purely defensive and readiness measures, not full-scale retaliation.
So the response is automatic, but it's tailored to defense. It's about surviving the first punch.
Precisely.
Okay, walk us through the 5 immediate automatic actions that are initiated within those first 5 minutes.
First, the real-time alert from the IFC floods the entire system. This makes sure that the source of the trigger is immediately communicated to all commands. That's crucial for initial coordination.
Everyone's on the same page in seconds.
Second, the automatic activation of the Rapid Deployment Force, or RDF, begins. Now, these are high-readiness troops, pre-positioned and pre-authorized to begin preparing for immediate deployment.
So they're bypassing all the usual logistical delays. The moment that alarm sounds, pilots are running to jets and commandos are loading up.
But that alone saves hours of traditional standby time. Third, there is a comprehensive cyber defense lockdown across all member states.
Why is that so high on the list?
Because it acknowledges that the first move of any major aggressor today is to cripple communications or infrastructure. Securing your own electronic grid has to be instantaneous.
Okay, that makes sense. What's number 4?
Fourth is air defense readiness. This is initiated across key strategic states, and the blueprint specifically names Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey.
Why those 3 specifically, right at the 5-minute mark?
The blueprint identifies them as forming the crucial advanced air shield for the alliance's core flank. It's because of their geographic positioning and, more importantly, their existing advanced missile defense technology.
So to get them active in 5 minutes, that means they have to have pre-locked targeting protocols and secure authorization links that bypass any diplomatic layer.
It's a staggering feat of military integration. It has to be pre-authorized at the treaty level.
And the 5th action. This is the one that sets this alliance apart from almost any other.
Yes. The instant convening of the Nuclear Consultation Council.
So even at the 5-minute mark, when the RDF is just gearing up, the consultation and readiness protocols for the highest stakes scenario are already underway.
Already underway. Level 1 is pure defensive kinetic speed. It's designed to ensure survival during that initial shockwave.
Okay. So once that initial defensive shock is absorbed, the system transitions immediately to level 2. Executive Council decision. And this operates within the 5 to 30-minute window.
Right. This is where this strategic directed response is crafted.
An extremely tight 25-minute window.
It requires a surgical decision-making group, explicitly designed to prevent the fragmentation we saw in the Arab League. It's composed of only 4 core entities.
Who are they?
The Supreme Allied Commander, or SAC, based in Islamabad, the Deputy Commander, the DSAC, based in Riyadh, the Intelligence Chief, and the foreign ministers of the member states, all linked virtually.
So you have the top military commander, the top political and diplomatic representative from the Riyadh HQ, the person who knows the facts, the intelligence chief, and the people who have to sell the message to the world, the foreign ministers.
All linked, all under immense time pressure.
What are the vital decisions they must finalize within that half hour? There are 6 of them, according to the document.
They are. First, they determine the scale of response. Is this a proportional defensive action, or are we moving to a full-scale retaliation?
A massive decision to make in minutes.
A monumental one. Second, they coordinate air and naval deployments. This means assigning physical routes and targets for the RDF that's already spinning up. Third, they authorize cyber counterattacks.
So moving from defense to offense in the digital domain.
Within half an hour, yes. And then you have the political side.
Right. What are they deciding?
They establish the unified diplomatic messaging. This is critical. It ensures that all the member nations, through their embassies and channels, speak with one voice instantly. Fifth, they manage the initial media response to control the narrative.
Get ahead of the story.
And finally, they implement initial economic measures, which shows this is designed from the outset to be a multi-domain response. You hit the aggressor militarily, digitally, diplomatically, and financially, all within the first 30 minutes.
That is politically audacious. You're forcing the entire diplomatic corps to work at the pace of the military rather than the other way around.
That is the key structural inversion of the whole system.
Okay, so that brings us to the final level, level 3. Full council confirmation, which spans the 1 to 6 hour mark. The immediate action is underway. The executive strategy is set. Why do we still need this final, broader step?
It's about legitimacy and sustainment. This step provides the long-term political buy-in and ensures the full, sustained activation of the entire alliance.
So it's the formal rubber stamp, but it only happens after the initial threat is contained and the response is already launched.
Exactly. The defense ministers of all the member states convene for this.
And what do they confirm?
3 main operational mandates. First, the extended operation duration. This ensures the response is sustained beyond the initial counterattack phase. It's not just a 24-hour punitive strike.
They're committing for the long haul if needed.
Second, they finalize sanctions implementation and approve the full mobilization order for all remaining forces that aren't part of the initial RDF. Third, they authorize what the document calls joint force entry.
Joint force entry, that's a critical technical term. For you listening, what does that practically mean in this context?
It means the legal and doctrinal authorization for forces from, say, country A to operate within or launch from the territory of country B, all under the unified command of the SAC.
So it's the full logistical merging of military capabilities.
It's what you need for any large-scale sustained campaign. The entire 3-level structure is designed to replace debate with doctrine. It demands action first and political confirmation later.
Understanding the structure is one thing, but seeing it play out is another. I think in part 4, we need to translate these RDM levels into a tangible, minute-by-minute visualization. This feels like the ultimate test of the blueprint's ambition.
This timeline really is the rhythm of the RDM. It's designed to preempt the opponent's own reaction time and just maximize the defensive advantage you get from pure speed.
Okay, so let's start at ground zero. 00.000. An attack occurs. The hostile action is initiated.
By 00.01, intelligence detects the threat. And we need to be clear, this isn't a human calling an analyst on the phone. This is the integrated sensor architecture of the Intelligence Fusion Center hitting a verified preset threshold.
The blueprint implies this might even be AI-assisted threat detection just to shave off those crucial seconds.
It almost has to be. Then, by 00.02, the alert is sent to both headquarters.
Islamabad, the SAC, and Riyadh, the DSAC, get the notification simultaneously. Why is that dual notification so critical right there at the 2-minute mark?
It guarantees redundancy. But more than that, it ensures immediate authority from both the military corps in Islamabad and the political and financial corps in Riyadh. There is no single point of failure in that initial communication chain.
Smart. Okay, at 00.03, RDF activation begins. Logistically, what does this actually mean for the soldiers and pilots on the ground?
It means the order to transition from ready status to launch status has been given. Fuel tanks are being topped off, munitions are being loaded onto aircraft, security clearances for the mission are finalized, and pre-approved target packages are being accessed.
So they're moving based on a predefined threat matrix. They're not waiting for a specific human-given target order.
And that alone shaves 30 to 60 minutes off traditional scrambling time. It's a huge advantage.
By 00.05, air defenses go active across key states. This is the hard stop. This is meant to block the aggressor's initial missile strike or any follow-on strikes.
The shield goes up over Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. They're online and ready.
Then the Executive Council phase starts. At 0.10, the SAC and DSA secure communication link is established.
This is their high-level virtual meeting. It bypasses all the traditional diplomatic switchboards and goes straight to a hardened, encrypted crisis line.
And the major strategic decision is locked down very, very swiftly. 0.2 Indra. Decision made on the level of response. 20 minutes from detection to having a strategic response locked in. When you look at that 0.2 Indra mark, what is the single greatest psychological or logistical hurdle the SAC and DSAC have to overcome?
I think the biggest hurdle is resisting the urge to seek more political input. They have to trust the predefined doctrine. They have to trust the quality of the intelligence they received at the 1-minute mark.
The system is designed to reward decisive action.
And punish second-guessing. They have to commit to a response path, be it retaliation, defense, or mediation with limited information, based purely on that existential threat level.
Once that decision is locked, the operational roll-up begins. By 01.00, regional commands move into action.
Right. That hour allows the complex executive orders, coordinating air routes, defining cyber targets, launching diplomatic efforts to filter down through the command chain. The regional commands are executing pre-approved operational plans that are tailored to the situation that was defined back at the 20-minute mark.
Then, by 03.00, alliance-wide mobilization initiated. This is where the full political weight of the alliance is leveraged.
All remaining forces, the ones not in the RDF, are put on high alert. Reserves are called up, and the logistical chains you'd need for a prolonged conflict shipping fuel, moving heavy equipment, activating medical response units are initiated across all 57 nations simultaneously.
And the combination of this initial phase, by 06.00, full NATO-style activation of Muslim forces is complete. Within just 6 hours, the alliance has gone from detection to full operational defense and readiness.
It's an undeniable change of pace. If you accept the premise of this blueprint, the system ensures that the world wakes up the next morning not to a successful attack on a member state, but to a unified, multinational military response that is already several hours underway.
That extreme pace is only possible because the alliance, as you said, refuses to be governed by that traditional consensus model.
Exactly. And this is where Part 5, the dual engine structure, becomes paramount. The collaboration between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia is the specific mechanism designed to bypass the political delays inherent in a 22-nation or even 57-nation alliance.
So this dual engine provides both the operational teeth and the political legitimacy needed to move from that automatic activation to strategic execution seamlessly. Let's break down the role of Pakistan first.
Pakistan is positioned as the operational and military cornerstone of the alliance. They host the primary headquarters, the HQ, in Islamabad, making them the geographic and institutional center of gravity for all military planning.
And critically, the sources cite them as providing the nuclear command structure.
They do, and this immediately links the RDM to a credible, ultimate defensive deterrent. This centralization suggests that the alliance's most high-stakes protocols are managed by the nation with the most experience in that specific domain.
It makes sense.
Beyond that, they supply the necessary intelligence speed and rapid mobilization capacity. And this isn't just a willingness to mobilize forces, it's the physical pre-existing infrastructure, the satellites, the signal intelligence, the deployment protocols that can handle the high-tempo demands of that 0 to 30-minute window.
And underpinning all of this is their strategic planning expertise. The blueprint notes that Pakistan's military is already structured for high-speed decisions, so the RDM can adopt established, efficient protocols rather than, trying to invent a new bureaucracy from scratch within a new organization.
They are the military technical engine. Now you contrast that with Saudi Arabia. They provide the political, the diplomatic, and the financial counterweight, and they host the secondary HQ in Riyadh, where the DSAC is based.
So Saudi Arabia's contributions are essential for legitimizing and sustaining that rapid military action.
Absolutely. They provide the crucial political legitimacy and diplomatic weight, which instantly grants the operation the necessary international gravitas that a purely military-focused alliance might lack.
And then there's the point about the holy sites.
Crucially, yes. They are delegated the immediate authority over sacred sites, including Al-Aqsa. This is a brilliant piece of political engineering. If a level 1 trigger is an attack on a holy site, Saudi Arabia provides the instant high-level political and religious authorization that activates the RDM's most sensitive response protocols.
So it gives the intervention an immediate religious and political mandate to act.
Without delay. And then there's the financial side. They ensure fast financial mobilization. Modern warfare is enormously expensive. Removing the traditional bottleneck of seeking funding approvals by granting immediate financial authority to Riyadh ensures that operations, once they're launched, don't falter because of budgetary delays.
So we have a really clear division of labor here. Pakistan provides the operational, nuclear, and planning speed, while Saudi Arabia provides the political legitimacy, the diplomatic weight, and the financial velocity to sustain that action.
The synthesis is clear. The dual engine is the centralized political and military engine for the entire alliance. It eliminates the fatal flaw of the Arab League, the need for 22 countries to debate endlessly. When the trigger is pulled, these two central powers authorize and activate the response using their respective domains of expertise,
Allowing the operation to be fully underway long before the rest of the full council meets hours later.
Exactly.
But let me challenge that structure again, because while it's highly efficient, centralizing this much political and military authority in just two nations, no matter how powerful they are, inherently introduces new political risks. Doesn't this create a potential dynamic where the smaller, non-HQ members feel less ownership, or worse, feel like they're being dictated to by an inner circle?
That is the inevitable trade-off of speed versus consensus, and the blueprint clearly acknowledges this risk. The idea is that the defense ministers of the other member states have delegated this authority in advance through formal treaties that establish the RDM.
So they've agreed to the rules before the game starts.
The price of guaranteed collective security, the document argues, is surrendering the individual veto power during that initial crisis window. The system tries to mitigate this by ensuring that Level 3 confirmation, the 1 to 6 hour meeting, requires the broader group of defense ministers to sanction the sustained operation.
So there's a check and balance, but it's delayed.
It is. If they disagree with the scale of the action taken by the Executive Council, they can theoretically halt the long-term mobilization. But the initial counterattack has already been delivered.
It's a mechanism built on calculated political risk, and it's prioritized entirely for velocity.
That's the core of it.
Okay, now we move into part 6, the practical application. We need to take the RDM out of the doctrinal abstract and put it into the field, using the scenarios provided in the source material to really demonstrate the instantaneous impact.
These scenarios are the real-world justification for the RDM's structure. They're designed to show the system addressing both internal, regional instability and existential external aggression across multiple domains.
Let's start with scenario 1, an attack on Gaza or Al-Aqsa. This triggers the Holy Site Defense Mandate. What is the immediate, simultaneous response we'd see within minutes?
This instantly triggers Level 1, so you see immediate multi-domain measures. First, the activation of air defense of member states closest to the conflict zone.
The shield goes up.
Simultaneously, you have the deployment of immediate diplomatic pressure across the UN and other global channels. Third, the launch of cyber retaliation against the aggressor's infrastructure. And fourth, the issuance of emergency deployment authority for the rapid deployment force.
Let's focus on that cyber retaliation for a moment.
Right.
What does launching a counterattack in minutes actually entail?
It means the Alliance's Cyber Command has pre-identified validated targets. These are likely to be infrastructure nodes, communication hubs, or military command systems of the potential aggressor. The authorization for that offensive cyber action is locked down during the Level 2 meeting, and the execution is nearly instantaneous.
And the goal is to do what?
It's designed to slow or confuse the aggressor's command structure while the kinetic defense is being established. It buys you time and creates chaos for your opponent.
Okay, then we have Scenario 2 Indian aggression against Pakistan or Kashmir. Given Pakistan's role as the military HQ, this would automatically trigger the highest level of joint defense protocol.
It would. The response here is a joint defense shield. You'd have air and missile defense activated jointly. A unified joint diplomatic shield would be immediately deployed to defend Pakistan's position on the global stage.
And the economic component.
Rapid, coordinated economic countermeasures implemented against the aggressor.
The scenario seems designed to showcase the power of instantaneous collective deterrence.
It is. The core idea, which is emphasized in the source, is that the strategic risk calculation for, say, New Delhi fundamentally changes the moment their action triggers a response not just from Islamabad, but from 57 nations acting within 6 hours. The RDM immediately shifts the scale of the conflict from a bilateral dispute to a massive multinational engagement.
The RDM also positions itself as a firebreak for internal tensions. This is demonstrated in Scenario 3, Iran-Arab escalation threats. This isn't about fighting a foreign enemy, but stopping two potential allies from engaging each other.
This is where the centralization of that Level 2 Executive Council, the SAC, DSAC, and foreign ministers is so crucial. The mechanism enables rapid mediation. They can focus immense unified political weight, the combined diplomatic leverage of the entire alliance, to intervene immediately and de-escalate the situation before tensions boil over into a kinetic conflict.
So speed prevents the usual 6-month slide toward war.
It aims to, yes.
Scenario 4 addresses non-state threats, a rogue militia attacking pilgrims.
This triggers the Sacred Sites Protection Mandate, which is where the immediate authority granted to Saudi Arabia comes into play. It leads to an immediate joint intervention under the pre-authorized Sacred Sites Protection Force.
So the ability to bypass political debate allows for swift, surgical action.
To secure critical religious infrastructure or pilgrimage routes and prevent a prolonged humanitarian crisis.
And finally, the ultimate modern threat that demands instant centralization. Scenario 5, a cyber attack on the Muslim grid.
This is countered by the instant activation of the Pan-Islamic Cyber Shield across all member states. The automatic lockdown and immediate counterattack authorization we outlined in Level 1 and Level 2 are really the only viable defense against threats that move at the speed of light.
And the source material views this synchronization as the key to preventing the systemic collapse of essential infrastructure.
Things like banking, energy, or military communication grids.
Yes. So these 5 scenarios, they provide concrete proof that the RDM is designed to manage conflict across the full spectrum, from nuclear deterrence to diplomatic mediation, and from kinetic military attacks to invisible cyber warfare.
And the overriding principle remains velocity and unity.
It's quite a vision.
As we conclude this intensive deep dive, I think it's vital we circle back to the core identity of the RDM. It's not just a bureaucratic innovation. The text explicitly defines it as the pulse of the alliance. It's the mechanism that dictates its very survival.
It's the architectural solution to those historical failures of fragmentation and delay. By inverting the process action first, confirmation second, the RDM ensures that political diversity never again results in operational paralysis during a crisis.
And we can summarize the core benefits promised by this highly centralized rapid response system. These are based directly on the source material's own conclusions. The promise is this: no Muslim state stands alone.
No crisis spirals out of control because of a delayed reaction.
No sacred site remains unprotected because of bureaucratic haggling.
And crucially, no aggressor miscalculates the price of aggression.
This structure aims to establish deterrence not just through sheer firepower, but through the guaranteed instantaneous nature of the collective response. The certainty of the response is the deterrent.
The 3 core principles derived from the entire blueprint seem to be the final word on the RDM's philosophy.
They are: speed equals survival, unity equals power, and rapid decisions equal victory. The RDM provides the pathway to transform that strategic belief into an undeniable operational reality.
Thank you for walking us through that incredibly detailed and frankly politically complex structure. It's a lot to take in. For you, the listener, who is clearly interested in these kinds of efficient structures and governance mechanisms, we want to leave you with this final provocative thought to explore.
Given the extreme complexity of this system and the required trust and automation, which of the 3 RDM levels, the automatic response is 0 to 5 minutes, the Executive Council decision at 5:30 minutes, or the full Council confirmation at 1 to 6 hours, presents the greatest operational challenge in its long-term implementation and sustainment?
And why? That's something to mull over as you consider the feasibility of building what would be the world's fastest alliance.